You seized human children? The lights on Meridian 7 station flickered, casting strange shadows across the wide corridors. Hannah Park looked up from her datapad, a small frown crossing her face. The 20 children around her continued chattering excitedly, their voices echoing off the metallic walls. They were so happy to be here, to see the stars and meet alien species for the first time. "Miss Hannah, look at that one!" Young Yuna pointed at a tall, thin alien with blue skin walking past. The creature had 4 arms and moved with an elegant grace that seemed almost like dancing. Hannah smiled warmly. "Remember what we talked about, Yuna? It's not polite to point." The 8-year-old girl quickly lowered her hand, her cheeks turning pink. "Sorry, Miss Hannah." Around them, the station buzzed with activity. Meridian 7 was one of the biggest trading posts in this sector of the galaxy. Hundreds of different species came here to buy, sell, and make deals. For the children of Earth, this was a dream come true. They were the first human children ever invited to participate in the Galactic Youth Exchange program. Tai, a clever 10-year-old boy with sharp eyes, tugged on Hannah's sleeve. "Miss Hannah, when do we get to visit the observation deck? I want to see the nebula." "After lunch, Tay. We have a schedule to follow." Hannah checked her datapad again. Something felt wrong. The lights had been flickering for the past 10 minutes, and she noticed fewer aliens in the corridors than usual. Wu, the tallest and strongest of the children at 12 years old, was trying to keep the younger ones in line. Little Rena, only 7, held onto his hand tightly. She was brave, but everything here was so new and big. "Stay together, everyone," Hannah called out. Her training as a teacher had prepared her for managing children, but her instincts were screaming that something was not right. Captain Dae Kim was supposed to meet them in 15 minutes. He was the human security officer assigned to their group, and Hannah would feel much better once he arrived. She touched her communicator. "Dae, this is Hannah. Are you close?" Static crackled in her ear. That was odd. Communications on the station were usually perfect. Then, the lights went out completely. Screams filled the darkness. Hannah's heart hammered in her chest. "Children, stay calm. Hold hands. Don't move." Emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in a dim red glow. That's when Hannah saw them. Large figures in dark armor were moving through the corridor toward them. They moved with purpose, with planning. This was not an accident. "Run!" Hannah shouted. "Children, run back to the residence section." But it was too late. The armored figures moved with incredible speed. Hannah threw herself in front of the children, arms spread wide. "You can't have them!" One of the figures struck her hard. Pain exploded across Hannah's head, and she fell to the ground. Through blurring vision, she saw the children being grabbed, their small voices crying out in fear. Yuna was fighting, kicking at an alien twice her size. Tay was trying to pull Rena away from another. Wu was shouting, trying to be brave. "No," Hannah whispered, trying to get up. Her body wouldn't respond. "No, please." Darkness took her. Velthara watched the operation through her viewing screen, her mandibles clicking with satisfaction. 20 human children, all secured without any real resistance. The reports were true. Humans were weak, emotional creatures. The children were small and fragile, nothing like the young of stronger species. "Excellent work," she said to her Lieutenant Grix. "Take them to the facility on asteroid K477. Keep them comfortable. We want them in good condition when we start negotiations." Grix, a hulking creature with gray skin and small dark eyes, nodded. "What about the human security forces?" Velthara laughed, a chittering sound. "What security forces? They have one ship in this sector. One small diplomatic vessel. The humans are new to the galaxy. They have no power here, no influence. They will pay whatever we ask to get their precious children back." "And if they don't?" Grix asked. "Then we sell the children to collectors. There are many species who would pay well for such rare specimens. Humans are still a curiosity in the galaxy." Velthara turned away from the screen. "Either way, we profit. The humans are too far from their home world to do anything foolish." What Velthara did not know was that she had just made the worst mistake of her life. Captain Dae Kim arrived at the corridor 17 minutes too late. His boots pounded against the metal floor as he ran, his weapon drawn. The corridor was empty now, but signs of struggle were everywhere. A child's shoe lay on the ground. Scorch marks scarred the walls. And there, lying in a pool of blood, was Hana Park. No, no, no! Day dropped to his knees beside her, checking for a pulse. She was alive, barely. He activated his emergency beacon. Medical team to Corridor 7 Delta now. Officer down. His hands shook as he tried to stop the bleeding from Hana's head wound. Around him, other humans were arriving, station workers and the few security personnel Earth had in this sector. What happened? Asked Jiho, another security officer. They took them, Day said, his voice cold and hard. Someone took the children. The words seemed to freeze everyone in place. The corridor went silent except for the sound of Hana's labored breathing. Jiho's face went pale. All of them? All 20? Day nodded. He was already accessing the station's security systems through his wrist computer, but the footage had been wiped. Professional work. This was planned. Medical teams arrived and took Hana away on an anti-gravity stretcher. Day stood slowly, his jaw clenched so tight it hurt. He looked at the other humans gathered around him. They all wore the same expression, shock, fear, and underneath it all, something else, something cold and dangerous. Contact Earth Fleet Command, Day said quietly. Tell them what happened. Tell them someone took our children. They're going to ask what we're doing about it, Jiho said. Day's eyes were like ice. Tell them we're going to find every single person involved in this, and tell them to send everyone, every ship we have. Within hours, a ransom message arrived at the Earth Embassy on Meridian 7. The demands were outrageous. Advanced human technology, territorial concessions, and enough resources to fund a small empire. The message included a video of the children, frightened but alive, sitting in a stark white room. When Captain Dae Kim saw the video, he made a promise to himself. Whoever took these children would learn a hard lesson about humanity. They would learn that taking a human's child was not a crime. It was not a mistake. It was a death sentence. The message went out on every channel, every frequency, faster than light itself. It reached Earth in hours. It reached the human colonies in days. And everywhere humans heard it, the response was the same. They took our children. And the galaxy was about to learn what that meant. You seized human children. Admiral Jin Choi stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Defiant, staring at the view screen. Meridian 7 station hung in space ahead of them, looking peaceful and calm. But Jin knew better. Somewhere out there, 20 human children were being held against their will. Admiral, the Galactic Council is requesting a meeting, said the communications officer. Jin nodded slowly. Tell them I'll attend, but make it clear. I'm not here to talk. I'm here to get our children back. The meeting took place in a large chamber on Meridian 7. Representatives from dozens of alien species sat in a circle, their various forms and shapes creating a strange assembly. Jin walked in wearing his full uniform, his face showing no emotion at all. Ambassador Coven, a reptilian creature with green scales and golden eyes, stood to address the room. Admiral Jin, we understand your concern. However, we must urge patience. The kidnappers have made contact. Negotiation is the proper course of action. Negotiation? Jin repeated the word like it tasted bad. You want us to negotiate with people who stole children? The galaxy has protocols for such situations, another ambassador said. This one a floating jellyfish-like being. Violence will only endanger the hostages. Jin's jaw tightened. You don't understand. An old voice spoke from the back of the chamber. I think he understands perfectly. Everyone turned to look at Elder Threnix, an ancient aquatic being who rarely spoke. His tank of water bubbled as he moved forward. The rest of you are the ones who don't understand. Elder Threnix? Coven looked confused. What do you mean? I have studied the humans since they joined our galactic community, Threnix said, his voice echoing from speakers on his tank. I have read their history. I have examined their biology, and I tried to warn the council weeks ago. He turned his large, dark eyes toward the assembly. Humans have one rule that cannot be broken. Never, ever harm their children. Many species are protective of their young, Coben said dismissively. Not like humans, Threnix replied. Humans evolved as apex predators on a death world. They hunted prey by following it for days, until it died from exhaustion. They are persistence hunters. Once they lock onto a target, they never stop. Never. He paused, letting his words sink in. And their strongest instinct, stronger than survival itself, is protecting their young. Jin said nothing. He simply watched the council, his face still showing no emotion. Admiral Jin appears calm, one ambassador observed. Surely this means humans can be reasonable. He's not calm, Threnix interrupted. He's hunting. Look at his eyes. He's already cataloging every ship, every station, every individual who might be involved. He's planning, calculating, and he won't stop until every single child is home. Jin allowed himself a small, cold smile. The elder is correct. Before the council could respond, the chamber's view screens lit up with an incoming transmission. A woman appeared, her eyes red from crying but her voice steady. Dr. Nari Han, xenobiologist and mother of one of the taken children, spoke directly to the camera. This is Dr. Nari Han, speaking to all of Earth and her colonies. They took our children. 20 innocent children were stolen from Meridian 7 station. Her voice grew stronger. To every human who can hear this, our children need us. This is not a request. This is not a debate. Our children are out there, and we are bringing them home. The transmission ended. The council chamber fell silent. Jin checked his datapad. I'm receiving reports that Earth has begun full military mobilization. Every colony world is sending their defense fleets. We're pulling ships from every sector. That's madness, Coven stood up. For 20 individuals, you would mobilize your entire military? They're not individuals, Jin said quietly, his voice carrying through the chamber like ice. They're children. Our children. Over the next several hours, the galaxy watched in growing disbelief as the human response unfolded. It started with dozens of ships, then hundreds, colonial defense forces, merchant vessels retrofitted with weapons, private ships volunteered by their owners, all of them heading toward Meridian 7 sector. The Galactic News Network broadcast continuous coverage. Alien commentators tried to make sense of what they were seeing. This response seems disproportionate, one Valorian analyst said. The ransom demands, while excessive, are not unreasonable. Why would humans risk galactic war over 20 children? But as the hours passed, more information about human culture began spreading through the galaxy. Stories and legends from Earth's history, tales of parents who crossed oceans to find their children, armies raised to rescue single individuals, empires that fell because they threatened human young. One broadcast showed an old Earth story about a man named Liam Neeson, who had become a cultural icon for the simple phrase, "I will find you." Velthera watched these broadcasts from her hidden base on asteroid K477, and for the first time, she felt a cold touch of fear. Thousands of human ships were gathering in nearby space. Thousands. This is impossible, she muttered. For 20 children? They're mobilizing their entire species? Grick stood nearby, equally nervous. Perhaps we should return them. Cut our losses. No, Velthera's mandibles clicked in agitation. They're bluffing. They have to be. No species would actually go to war over such a small number. But even as she said it, she watched another fleet arrive on her sensors. Then another. Then another. Back on Meridian 7, Jin received a communication from Velthera. Her image appeared on screen, trying to look confident, but Jin could see the fear in her movements. Admiral Jin, I'm prepared to negotiate. Your government's demands... I have no demands, Jin interrupted. You have 6 hours to return every child, unharmed, to Meridian 7 station. And if we don't? Velthera tried to sound threatening. Jin's expression didn't change. Then there will be no negotiation, no demands, no mercy. We will find you. We will find everyone who helped you. And we will show you what happens when you take our children. The transmission ended. Elder Threnix contacted Jin privately later that day. Admiral, I must know, how far would humans truly go? Jin looked at the old being with tired eyes. Elder, I have a daughter. She's safe on Earth, but if someone took her, he paused. I would burn entire worlds to ash to get her back. And every human parent feels the same way. Our children are not negotiable. They are not hostages. They are everything. Thrinix was quiet for a long moment. The galaxy is about to learn a terrible lesson. Yes, Jin agreed. They are. Across human space, the phrase continued to spread. On Earth, on Mars, on the distant colonies, humans heard the news and responded. Retired military veterans requested return to active duty. Civilian ships volunteered for the search. Parents everywhere looked at their own children and understood. They took our children. And somewhere in the darkness of space, 20 frightened but brave children waited for rescue, not knowing that the entire human race was coming for them. You seized human children? The room was white and cold, with no windows and only one door. 20 human children sat on simple benches, huddled together for comfort. Some of the younger ones were crying softly. Others sat in silence, their faces pale with fear. But Yuna wasn't crying. The 8-year-old girl sat very still, her eyes watching everything. She counted the number of times the door opened. She watched how the guards moved. She memorized their patterns. They're going to come for us, she whispered to Tay, who sat beside her. Tay nodded. He had been doing his own observations. The guards change every 6 hours, 3 guards at a time. They carry weapons, but they're not worried about us. He looked at Yuna with serious eyes. They think we're weak. That's their mistake, Wu said quietly from behind them. The 12-year-old had appointed himself protector of the younger children. Little Rena sat close to him, her hand gripping his shirt. She had stopped crying an hour ago and now just stared at nothing. My dad is a soldier, Yuna said softly. He taught me things. He said if I'm ever in trouble, stay calm, stay smart, and know that he will always come for me. She looked around at the other children. All our parents will come for us. How can you be sure? Asked Mina, a 9-year-old girl with trembling lips. Because they're human, Yuna said simply. It's what we do. Outside their cell, Grix watched the children through a monitoring screen. He felt uneasy. Most young creatures taken from their parents showed more fear, more panic. These human children were scared, yes, but there was something else. They were thinking, planning. Even the smallest ones stayed quiet and alert. They're strange, he muttered to another guard. They're just children, the guard replied. Small, weak things. What can they do? But Grix wasn't so sure. Across the galaxy, the human mobilization continued to grow in scale and intensity. Commander Minji Song stood on the bridge of the warship Thunder, her hands gripped tight behind her back. Her daughter Sua was one of the 20 children taken. Every minute that passed felt like an hour. Status report, she commanded. 14 colony fleets have arrived in the sector, Commander. That's over 3,000 ships. More are arriving every hour. The officer paused. Ma'am, I've never seen anything like this. Ships that haven't flown in years are being brought online. Retired officers are returning to duty. Everyone wants to help. Minji's jaw tightened. My daughter is out there. Every one of those children belongs to someone. We're not just bringing them home. We're showing the galaxy that humans protect their own. Messages flooded in from across human space. Parents of the children, grandparents, brothers and sisters, all wanting updates. But also messages from complete strangers. A mining crew from the outer colonies sent a message. We're coming. Tell us where. A retired admiral, 80 years old, requested a ship. A civilian transport captain volunteered to fly into danger zones. The Galactic News Network could barely keep up with the coverage. Alien species watched in amazement and growing alarm as the human response grew beyond all proportion. A Centaurian reporter interviewed a human freighter captain who had volunteered his ship. Why are you willing to risk your life for children you've never met? The reporter asked. The captain looked directly at the camera. Because they're human children. That's all the reason I need. On Earth, we have a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, humanity is our village, and someone threatened our children. The interview went viral across 1,000 worlds. Elder Threnix compiled a report for the Galactic Council, documenting everything he had learned about human behavior. He included historical examples: the Trojan War, fought over a single woman; the countless rescue missions humans had launched throughout their history; the way human soldiers would risk entire squads to save one wounded comrade. Humans are pack-bonding creatures, his report stated. They form protective attachments not just to their own offspring, but to all human young. Threatening a human child triggers the same response in all humans, an instinct to protect at any cost. The report included data on human physiology, how human parents could perform feats of incredible strength when their children were in danger, how their bodies could ignore pain and injury when protecting their young, how they could go without sleep for days when searching for lost children. They are not like us, Threnix concluded. They evolved on a world that tried to kill them at every turn. They survived by being relentless, by never giving up, by protecting their pack above all else. Whoever took these children has not committed a crime. They have awakened something primal in the entire human species. Ambassador Coven read the report and felt a chill run down his spine. He sent an urgent message to Velthara's last known contact point. Return the children immediately. You don't understand what you've done. But Velthara didn't respond. Back in the White Room, Tay had been busy. While the guards thought the children were just sitting quietly, Tay had been mapping the entire facility in his mind. Every time they moved the children to the bathroom, he counted steps. When guards talked, he listened to every word, learning the layout of the base. There are ventilation shafts, he whispered to Yuna and Wu. They're big enough for us to fit through. Where do they lead? Wu asked. I don't know yet. But anywhere is better than here. Tay looked at the other children. We need to be ready. When our parents come, and they will come, we need to help ourselves too. Yuna nodded. Her father had taught her hand signals, basic military communication. She started teaching them to the other children, showing them how to signal quietly without speaking. The children practiced during their rest periods, creating a silent language of gestures. Rena, the youngest, surprised everyone by being the fastest learner. She might be only 7, but she was smart and quick. She appointed herself as the messenger, the one who could quickly move between groups of children to pass signals. The guards noticed nothing. They saw frightened children sitting quietly, being obedient. They didn't see the planning. They didn't notice the quiet determination growing stronger each hour. On the 3rd day of captivity, Grix brought food to the children. Yuna looked up at him and asked a simple question. Do you have children? Grix was surprised by the question. Yes, 2 offspring. Would you want someone to take them? Yuna's voice was calm, not accusing. Grix felt something twist in his chest. No. Then why are you doing this to us? The guard had no answer. He left quickly, disturbed by the simple logic of the small human child. That night, he went to Velthara. We should return them. The human fleet grows larger every day. They're not going to negotiate. They're preparing for war. Let them prepare, Velthara snapped. They won't find us, and even if they do, we have the children. They won't risk harming them. But Grix saw the fear in her movements, heard it in her voice. Velthara was scared, and she was making the mistake of doubling down instead of retreating. In space, Admiral Jin received daily reports. The human fleet now numbered over 5,000 ships. More arrived every hour. They formed a massive gathering, the largest human military force ever assembled. Admiral, the Galactic Council is requesting we stand down, his communications officer reported. They say our military buildup is destabilizing the entire sector. Jin's response was simple. Tell them we'll stand down when our children are home, not before. Across the galaxy, humans continue to share stories and information about their species' protective nature. Videos of parents rescuing children from fires, from floods, from wild animals. News stories of communities coming together to find lost children. Cultural references to movies, books, and songs all about protecting the young. One phrase kept appearing in broadcasts, in messages, in communications between human ships. It was simple, direct and carried a weight that made alien species shudder when they heard the translation. "We will burn worlds to ash to bring our children home." And the galaxy was beginning to believe them. "You seized human children?" The 6-hour deadline arrived. Admiral Jin stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching the timer count down to 0. No response came from Velthera. No ships approached with the children. The galaxy held its breath. "Time's up," Jin said quietly. His voice carried through the bridge, calm and cold. "All ships, move to combat readiness. Operation Homecoming is now active." Across the massive human fleet, thousands of ships lit up their weapon systems. The gathered armada began to move with precision that shocked alien observers. This wasn't a random collection of vessels. This was a coordinated military force. The Galactic News Network broadcast everything. Alien viewers across hundreds of worlds watched as the human fleet split into dozens of task forces, each moving with clear purpose. "They're beautiful," one military analyst whispered, watching the display. "I've studied warfare for 3 centuries, and I've never seen such coordination from any species." Velthera received reports of the human fleet's movement and finally understood her mistake. "They're really going to attack. They're actually going to start a war over 20 children." "I told you," Grick said. "I told you to return them." "Prepare all defenses," Velthera ordered. "Contact our allies, get every ship they have." But her allies were already abandoning her. Crime syndicates, mercenary groups, even pirates, they all sent the same message. "You're on your own. We don't fight humans over their children." One pirate lord sent a longer message. "We may be criminals, but we're not suicidal. You took human children. Even we have limits." Velthera's defensive fleet numbered 300 ships. It should have been enough to defend one asteroid base. But as the human forces approached, she realized numbers meant nothing. The first human task force arrived at the edge of the asteroid field where Velthera was hiding. Captain Dae Kim commanded the lead ship. He had recovered from his failure to protect the children by preparing for this moment. Every sensor, every scan, every piece of intelligence had been analyzed. "Asteroid K477, he said. "They're there. I can feel it." His tactical officer looked at the display. "Sir, there are thousands of asteroids in this field. How can you be certain?" "Because it's where I would hide," Day replied. "Scan for any unusual energy signatures. They have to be powering a facility large enough for 20 children." It took 30 minutes. Then a junior officer called out, "Got it. Asteroid K477 shows power consumption inconsistent with its size. There's something inside." Day smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "All ships, target asteroid K477. Prepare for assault." Velthara saw the human ships converge on her position. She activated her defensive fleet, 300 ships against the human task force of 500. The odds weren't terrible. She might hold them off long enough to negotiate. Then the rest of the human fleet arrived. Thousands of ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, filling the space around the asteroid field. The sight made Velthera's blood run cold. "They brought everyone," she whispered. "All of them. For 20 children." The battle was brief and brutal. Velthera's ships fought hard, but human combat doctrine was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Human ships worked in perfect coordination, covering each other, anticipating movements, adapting to every tactic. When one ship was damaged, 3 more took its place. But more shocking than their skill was their intensity. Human pilots took risks that seemed insane, pushing their ships to the limits and beyond. They fought like creatures possessed, driven by something stronger than logic or self-preservation. "They fight like they don't care if they die," a Velthera's tactical officer said in horror. "They don't," Grix replied quietly. "Not when their children are at stake." Inside the asteroid base, the children heard the sounds of battle. Explosions echoed through the walls. The lights flickered. Yuna stood up, making hand signals to the other children. This was their chance. "Now," Tay whispered, "the guards will be distracted." The children had been preparing for this moment. They had salvaged small pieces of metal from their benches, working them loose over days. When the next guard shift change occurred, chaos erupted in the corridor outside. Guards were running to defensive positions, shouting orders. Wu used his strength to pry open the ventilation grate they had been working on. Go, quickly! The smaller children went first, Rena leading them through the narrow shaft. Tay guided them, using his mental map of the facility. Yuna stayed near the back, making sure no one was left behind. Wu came last, pulling the grate back into place behind them. They crawled through the darkness, their small hands and knees scraping against metal. Some of the younger children whimpered, but Rena kept them calm, whispering encouragement. We're going home, she kept saying. Our parents are coming. Meanwhile, Commander Minji Song led the strike team that breached the asteroid base. Her team moved through the corridors with lethal efficiency, their weapons ready. They encountered minimal resistance. Most of Velthara's forces were trying to hold off the fleet outside. Find the children, Minji commanded. Nothing else matters. Her team swept through the facility, clearing room after room. When they reached the white room where the children had been held, it was empty. For a moment, Minji's heart stopped. Then her tactical officer pointed at the ventilation grate. Commander, look. The grate was slightly ajar. Minji felt a surge of pride. They escaped on their own, smart kids. She activated her communicator. All teams, the children are in the ventilation system. Find them. Be careful, they're going to be scared. Tay led the children through the shafts until they found a maintenance area. They climbed down into a small room filled with equipment, and there, sitting on a table, was an emergency beacon. That's it, Tay moved toward it. My dad showed me how these work. With shaking hands, the 10-year-old boy activated the beacon. He didn't know exactly how it worked, but he pressed the buttons that looked right. A light started blinking. Is it working? Yuna asked. I think so, Tay said. I hope so. The beacon signal cut through all interference, broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. Every human ship in the area received it simultaneously. On the Defiance Bridge, Jin saw the signal appear. That's them. Get me a location. Maintenance section, level 7 of the asteroid base, his tactical officer reported. Jin activated fleet-wide communications. All forces, we have a location on the children. Extraction teams, move now. Minji's strike team was closest. They ran through the corridors, following the beacon signal. When they burst into the maintenance room, weapons ready, they found 20 children huddled together, scared but alive. Minji lowered her weapon, her eyes searching the group until she found her daughter. Sua! Mom! The little girl ran forward, and Minji caught her in a fierce hug. Around them, other soldiers were checking the children, calling for medical teams, ensuring everyone was accounted for. Yuna looked up at a soldier and asked, Did we do good? The soldier, a tough veteran with scars across his face, knelt down to her level. Tears streamed down his cheeks. You did amazing, sweetheart. You all did amazing. I knew you'd come, Yuna said simply. We're human. We protect each other. The extraction was swift. The children were taken to medical ships where doctors checked them over. All 20 were alive and relatively unharmed. Tired, scared, but alive. Meanwhile, human forces captured Velthara and every member of her organization. They didn't kill them. They didn't need to. Human justice would be served, but it would be done properly. The galaxy watched as the children were reunited with their parents. The broadcasts showed mothers and fathers holding their children, crying with relief. They showed grandparents, brothers, sisters, all gathering around to welcome the children home. One image went viral across the galaxy. Little Rena, only 7 years old, being held by both her parents while her older brother stood next to them, his hand on her shoulder. The family was crying and laughing at the same time. The caption read simply, Humanity. Admiral Jin addressed the Galactic Council in a broadcast that would be remembered for generations. His face showed exhaustion, but also absolute certainty. To every species in this galaxy, I want you to understand something. We are not warlike. We are not aggressive. We prefer peace, cooperation, and friendship. But we are parents, and you will never, ever take our children again. He paused, letting his words sink in. What you witnessed here was restraint. We could have destroyed everything in our path. We could have turned this entire sector to debris. But we didn't, because our children were here, and we protect what we love. Let this be the last lesson anyone needs to learn. Humanity's greatest strength is not our technology or our military. It's our bonds with each other. It's our love for our children. And there is no force in this galaxy more dangerous than a human parent protecting their child. The message was clear. The lesson was learned. And the galaxy would never make this mistake again. You seized human children? 3 months had passed since the rescue. The children had returned to Earth, where they spent weeks recovering with their families. Counselors helped them process their experience. Parents held them close, grateful for every moment. But now, something new was happening. Ambassador Hyun Lee stood before the Galactic Assembly, and the mood in the chamber was very different from before. Every species representative sat in silence, listening carefully. Humans had earned their respect, and also their fear. The trial of Velthara and her organization is complete, Hyun announced. They have been found guilty of kidnapping, trafficking, and endangerment of sentient children. Under human law, they will spend the rest of their lives in prison, working to repay their debt to society. Ambassador Kovan spoke up. The Council appreciates Earth's measured response. Many feared you would execute them. Hyun's expression was firm. We are not monsters. We believe in justice, not revenge. But make no mistake, our laws regarding crimes against children are now public knowledge. Anyone who harms a human child, anywhere in the galaxy, will face human justice. Elder Threnix activated his translation speaker. The Council wishes to propose new galactic laws. We believe the events of the past months have shown us gaps in our legal framework. A document appeared on every representative's screen. It was titled, The Protection of Human Youth Act, and it detailed specific provisions for the safety of human children throughout galactic space. Any crime against a human child will be classified as a high-priority offense, Threnix explained. All species agree to immediately cooperate with human authorities in such cases. There will be no sanctuary, no safe harbor for those who would harm human young. The vote was unanimous. Every species agreed. They had seen what happened when human children were threatened, and none of them wanted to experience it again. But there was more. A Centaurian ambassador stood and spoke. We have studied human culture extensively over these months. We have learned about your concept of pack bonding, your protective instincts, and your child-rearing practices. We find them admirable. Other ambassadors nodded. A Valorian representative added, Many of our own species are reconsidering how we protect our young. The human response has shown us that perhaps we have not valued our children enough. Hyun smiled slightly. Our children are our future. Every species should feel that way. On Earth, the 20 children had become something unexpected. Heroes. They appeared at schools, at public events, telling their story. But they didn't talk about being victims. They talked about staying strong, working together, and never giving up hope. Yuna spoke at her school assembly, standing before hundreds of students. When we were taken, we were scared. But we remembered what our parents taught us. Stay calm, stay smart, help each other. She paused, looking at the younger children in the audience. And we always knew, that our parents would come for us. Because that's what humans do. The audience erupted in applause. Parents in the crowd wiped tears from their eyes. One parent later said, I used to worry about letting my children go too far from home. Now I know that no matter where they are, the entire human race will come for them if needed. Tay had become something of a celebrity for his engineering skills. The boy who mapped an enemy facility in his head and activated a rescue beacon was invited to speak at technical conferences. But when reporters asked him how he stayed so calm, his answer was simple. My mom is a scientist. She taught me to observe and think. My dad is a pilot. He taught me to stay calm under pressure. I just did what they taught me. He smiled. We're human. We teach our children to be strong. Wu returned to his school and found that his protective nature, which had sometimes gotten him in trouble before, was now celebrated. he started a program to teach younger children basic safety and self-defense. His motto was simple: "We protect each other." Little Rena, the youngest of the rescued children, had perhaps changed the most. The 7-year-old who had been shy and quiet was now confident and brave. She told everyone who would listen, "I wasn't scared because Wu was there, and Yuna was there, and Tay was there. We were together. And when you're together, you're never alone." Her words were turned into a poster that appeared in schools across Earth and the colonies. It showed the children's hands joined together with the caption, "Together, we're never alone." Commander Minji Song received a promotion to admiral. In her acceptance speech, she spoke about the operation to rescue the children. Every soldier who participated did so not for glory or honor. They did it because those children could have been their own. That's the strength of humanity. We are all family. Captain Dae Kim also received recognition for his work in tracking down the kidnappers. But when reporters asked him about his feelings during the crisis, he was honest. "I failed those children when they were first taken. That will haunt me forever. But they didn't give up on themselves, and we didn't give up on them." In the end, we all came home. Hannah Park recovered from her injuries. She returned to teaching, and her first class was filled with students eager to learn from the woman who had fought to protect the children. She started each year with the same lesson: "You are valuable. You are important. And if anyone ever tries to harm you, the entire human race will move heaven and earth to save you." Dr. Nari Han, whose broadcast had helped mobilize humanity, wrote a book about the experience. It became required reading in schools across human space. The final chapter was titled "What We Learned," and it began with these words: "We learned that we are stronger together than apart. We learned that our children are not just our future. They are our present, our purpose, our reason for being. We learned that when tested, humanity will always choose to protect the innocent, no matter the cost." The Galactic Council established a new research division dedicated to studying human psychology and sociology. Elder Threnix was appointed to lead it. His first report was titled "Understanding Humanity: A Guide for Galactic Citizens." The report included sections on human bonding behavior, protective instincts, and child-rearing practices. But it also included warnings. "Humans are generally peaceful and cooperative," one section read. "They value friendship, trade, and mutual benefit. However, certain actions will trigger responses that seem disproportionate to other species. Chief among these triggers is any threat to human children." The report included case studies from human history: parents who lifted vehicles to save trapped children, communities that searched for days to find lost children, societies that changed entire legal systems to protect the young. To understand humans, you must understand that their young are not simply offspring to be raised. They are treasured, protected, and valued above all else. A threat to one human child is perceived as a threat to all humanity. The report ended with a simple recommendation: if you encounter human children, treat them with the same care you would treat your own most valuable possessions. Better yet, treat them as humans do, as irreplaceable treasures whose safety is paramount. 1 year after the rescue, a monument was unveiled on Meridian 7 Station. It stood in the exact corridor where the children had been taken. The monument was a simple sculpture: 20 small human figures standing together, holding hands. At the base of the monument, a plaque bore an inscription in every major galactic language. Here, 20 human children were taken. Here, humanity showed the galaxy its true nature. We are explorers. We are builders. We are dreamers. But above all, we are parents. And we will cross any distance, face any danger, and overcome any obstacle to protect our children. Let all who pass this place remember: the bonds of humanity cannot be broken. The dedication ceremony was attended by representatives from every major species in the galaxy. The children themselves were there, now a year older, still processing everything that had happened to them. Yuna placed a flower at the base of the monument. When reporters asked her what she wanted people to remember about the experience, her answer was pure and simple: "I want people to know that we weren't saved just by soldiers or ships. We were saved by love. Every human who came for us, who volunteered their ship, who left their family to help us. They did it because they love children, not just their own children, all children. She looked up at the monument. That's what makes us human. The ceremony ended with a moment of silence, followed by a human tradition, the playing of a song. It was a simple melody, sung by children, with words about hope, family, and coming home. Many in the audience didn't understand all the words, but they understood the emotion. As the song faded, Ambassador Hyun addressed the crowd one final time. Today, we remember what happened here. But more importantly, we celebrate what we learned. We learned that the galaxy is not just a place of trade and politics. It's a community, and in a true community, we protect the most vulnerable among us, our children. He paused, looking around at the gathered representatives from dozens of species. Humans are happy to share this lesson with any who wish to learn it. Our children are precious to us, yes. But all children are precious. They are the future of all our species. They deserve our protection, our guidance, and our love. The story of the 20 children became legend. It was taught in schools, discussed in diplomatic circles, and referenced in legal proceedings. But for the children themselves, life eventually returned to normal. They grew up, went to school, played with friends. But they were changed. They knew, in a way that few beings in the galaxy understood, that they were loved. Not just by their parents, but by their entire species. They knew that no matter where they went, no matter what dangers they faced, humanity would come for them. And the galaxy knew it too. The taking of human children went from being a tragic mistake to an unthinkable taboo. It was said that even the most hardened criminals in the galaxy would refuse contracts that involved human children. The risk wasn't just legal, it was existential. Because the galaxy had learned a fundamental truth about humanity. They were not the strongest species. They were not the oldest or the wisest. But when it came to protecting their children, they were the most dangerous force in the universe. And that was a lesson no one ever forgot. Years later, Yuna, now a young woman studying to become a diplomat, was asked in an interview what she thought about the monument and the legacy of what happened. She smiled, that same brave smile she had worn as an 8-year-old in a white room, and said, "The monument isn't really about us. It's about what humanity is. We're a species that protects our own. We're a species that never gives up. And we're a species that believes every child, every single one, is worth saving." That's not just the story of 20 children who were rescued. That's the story of who we are. And that's a story worth remembering. The galaxy remembered. And it would never make that mistake again.